Have you ever been in an ethical dilemma? A situation where right and wrong might feel unclear? You might be torn by confounds like power dynamics, relationships, and morals. While navigating what decision might be best for yourself and others, it might be good to look at an ethical theory to break down the problem further. Today, I'm going to tell you about a time I had an ethical dilemma and how I navigated it. We're going to take it back to my freshman year at JMU. My roommate, let's call her Fran, had come home complaining about a class paper she had to write. As the deadline approached, Fran came to me and asked if I would be willing to write her paper for her. I had taken the class that previous semester and I had gotten a good score. In this moment, I froze. I didn't want to say no and upset Fran. However, writing the essay felt wrong. At the time, I didn't have any ethical theories to refer to. Today, I'm going to take this situation and apply it to the ethical theories we've learned in class, to give my past self some help on how to navigate a somewhat tough situation. The first ethical theory I'm going to talk about is deontology, otherwise known as duty ethics. Deontology is all about the moral rules and duties we have in our jobs and roles in society. One duty I know I have as a student is to be honest and follow the JMU Honor Code. Again, deontology stresses the importance of sticking to your duty regardless of consequence. To further outline the structure of this theory, we use something called categorical imperative, which states that an act can only be deemed moral if it can be applied to everyone without contradiction. And going back to my dilemma, is it ethical for everyone to get their friends to write their essays for them? No. If everyone turned in essays written by their friends, our entire academic system would fall apart. Education and personal integrity would lose its purpose. To conclude, in using deontology for this situation, writing an essay for my friend would not be in line with my duty of honesty as a student, nor can the rule be universalized. Moving on, let's talk about utilitarianism. Kind of think about this like majority rules. Utilitarianism states what benefits the majority and harms the least amount of people is the way to go. Using the dilemma of writing an essay for a friend, I need to now weigh the benefits and the harms to all involved. The only benefit that really comes to my mind here is the relief of a friend, Fran, not having to write her essay and stress about getting a bad grade. But when we take a look at the harms, it's a lot longer. First, Fran would be harmed, as she wouldn't really be growing in any academic pursuits, as well as the harm she could face for repercussions if she was caught. I could also face harm. If it was found out that I had written her essay, I would be in violation of the honor code and face repercussions. A third party that would also be harmed is other students in her class. As they don't have their friends writing their essays for them, they are now at a disadvantage and in an unfair situation. So, in looking at these benefits and harms, it's pretty clear that while Fran might benefit in the short term, overall, writing that essay for Fran would not benefit the majority. Therefore, we shouldn't write the essay. Now let's move on to virtue ethics. This theory asks, what would a virtuous person do? It highlights the cyclical relationship between virtuous acts continuing into virtuous character and then continuing the behavior of virtuous actions. When we think of some virtuous traits for this example, something that comes to mind is honesty and courage. Honesty specifically can be a great trait to lean into when being asked to help write a friend's essay. Virtue ethics even uses a type of formula to find a balance between the extremes. This is called the golden mean. When we look at the extremes of honesty on both ends, you can see that having an excess of honesty might lead to more negative repercussions. For example, I might yell or get critical of my friend Fran and lash out at her for even asking. This might cause damage to the relationship, which I don't want to do. In a deficit, however, a lack of honesty might mean I agree to write the essay, but that option feels uncomfortable. So, in finding that middle ground using virtue ethics and the golden mean, I may still refuse to write Fran's essay. However, I explain to Fran why I will not write it. Explain the benefit of her writing it and learning those skills. Could even offer to help her find support, like going to the JMU writing lab for any tips. Or even proofread it and let her know what could be worked on. Using that golden mean in virtue ethics with the trait of honesty, I'm able to still not write that essay for Fran and maintain and support my friend. Let's talk about egoism, otherwise known as self-interest ethics. This ethical theory may be closer to our innate desires. It screams me. Egoism really only worries about what's most beneficial to one's own self-interest. And even with an ethical theory so simple, my dilemma still has a clear answer. In thinking of what would benefit my own long-term interest, I know personally I'm not a fan of writing essays all the time. If I was to say yes to writing Fran's essay, who knows how many more times I'd be asked to write one over and over again. Another issue that would really harm my long-term interest would be the punishment I could face if I'm caught writing it for Fran. An honor code violation, not in my long-term interests. So again, in using this theory, even though it's so simple and innate, it really does sway me from writing this essay for Fran. Because for my own long-term interest and benefit, writing essays for other people harms me intellectually, academically, morally, and the punishment all does not align with my long-term interests. Now let's talk about kind of a warm and fuzzy ethical theory. This is called ethics of care. It sounds really comforting, right? And it is. It's about something very important. It's about relationships. We all have them. How do the ethical decisions we make impact relationships? How do we think ethically and empathetically for those we care about and honor them in tough situations? For the dilemma of being asked to write an essay for my friend, this is a huge confound. Fran is my friend. I care about her, and I like to think I would do a lot to make sure she's okay. But we need to consider all of the relationships at stake here. First, we have my relationship with Fran. I want our relationship to foster honesty, integrity, and growth. And I know in the long term, in supporting and honoring my relationship with Fran, getting her resources to write the essay instead of writing it for her would probably be a more supportive thing to do. Next, I need to think about the relationship with the professor of Fran's class, who expects academic honesty from their students when they assign papers. In writing that paper for Fran, we dishonor that mutual understanding of trust between the professor and the student. Lastly, in the grand scheme of things and relationships, we need to think about the JMU community. There is a level of fairness and honesty that we as students expect our peers to follow. If I was to write this essay, I would be compromising the entire learning environment for every student who understands they should be doing their own work. In writing the essay, it might unfairly impact others, take away opportunities for them. In considering all these relationships at stake, we can see how not writing that essay would truly honor and respect all those relationships and dynamics in the mix. Now, after considering all of the theories we've talked about, what do you think my decision was? As you can probably assume, I did not write that essay for Fran. Instead, I told her why I felt it was wrong to write it. I emphasized her own capabilities to write an outstanding essay without needing to cheat. And of course, I offered my support if she needed more resources, like tutoring or proofreading. This decision that I made to me felt the best. And now looking at all the theories we've discussed, it's probably closest to virtue ethics. In the outcome of my decision, I was able to stick to my morals, uphold virtues, explain the issues and harms to others that writing the essay could cause, and still be able to support my friend. And it worked. And more of a bonus, I wasn't asked to write any more essays. Thank God. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed me breaking down ethical theories and how they can be used to make really sticky situations a lot simpler.